Socioeconomic status is the social standing or class of an individual or group. It is often measured as a combination of education, income, and occupation. Socioeconomic status can affect an individual's life in many ways and is assessed by more than one factor. I grew up playing sports and saw firsthand how much time and money was invested into sports. I also saw how sport participation was affected when individuals could not invest extra time and/or money into their sport of choice. I chose this topic to focus on how socioeconomic status affects sport participation and physical activity. Socioeconomic status affects society and influences the lives of families and children psychologically, educationally, and physically. Many factors play a role in this definition, including parental employment, education, marital status, and the race or ethnicity of the family. Each aspect of this definition also plays a role among socioeconomic differences in sport participation. Money and financial stability influence sport and physical activity participation, which affects the capability of an athlete. The socioeconomic status of a family is just a factor because the availability of the parents also plays a role in sport participation, as well as the availability of sport and physical activity equipment and facilities. After researching and reading the literature, a few common themes have been identified. The first being socioeconomic status affects the participation of sport and physical activity. Socioeconomic differences were measured by income, education, and employment. Research shows sport participation is higher within groups of high socioeconomic status individuals compared to low socioeconomic status individuals. Income and parental education status was positively correlated with sport participation. Another theme identified in the literature is family characteristics such as support, education level, and availability affect sport participation. Parents have a lot of influence over the sport participation of their children. The behavior of a mother and father affect the behavior and attitude of their children. Positive family characteristics of a family conceivably lead to positive sport and physical activity participation. One study found that high socioeconomic status families were found to be more involved with sport participation, transportation, and attendance. Lack of parental support and motivation may also lead to sedentary behaviors, conceivably signifying lack of sport participation. The third theme that has been identified in the literature is socioeconomic status contributes to the barriers of sport participation, including the availability and access of sporting facilities. One study collected data on the availability of sporting facilities and sport participation. The results indicated that sport participation was more frequent in the locations of which there were more sport facilities. The socioeconomic status was a contributing factor and was found to correlate with the usage of sporting facilities. I chose to interview 3 different individuals, 2 males and 1 female. All of my participants grew up in a low-income household. My purpose for conducting these interviews was to assess the relationship between socioeconomic status and sport participation. After analyzing my participants' answers, 3 themes were identified. All of the themes identified were compared to the themes that were acknowledged throughout the literature. The first being that their socioeconomic status did affect if and how often they participated in sports growing up. The second theme identified was that their families, beliefs, actions, and overall characteristics played a role in their participation in sports. The third theme identified was that sport facility access does correlate with sport participation. This was an obstacle for my participants, but was not a major hurdle when we looked at all the factors that played a role in their sport participation. All interview participants expressed that their socioeconomic status affected their sport participation. Each theme that was identified in the literature was also seen in some form through the interviews. After conducting the interviews, it was clear to me that socioeconomic status is complex, and although not true for everybody, does show it affects sport participation via the literature and my interview participation. Parental income, education, occupation, beliefs, actions, and geographical location play a role in sport participation as well. My research is significant because it is important to understand the factors associated with socioeconomic status and how they relate to sport participation. It is important to understand the impact socioeconomic status may have on individuals.